Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today we're going to go over all the new decks as well as a couple honorable mentions of decks coming out in BT13. Decks that are expected to just take the meta by storm and completely flip it on its head. All new decks, all new meta. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We're going to go over every deck that's in this set, every new deck and current deck getting a huge boost in support. Don't forget though, this month's featured memory marker is Ravemon. This is the baby form of Lugamon. This is handmade out of clay, hand painted as well, all by my wife, Digimon. You can find this as our Patreon reward for this month, as well as on her Etsy page if you want to go there directly and order it from her. Also there on her Etsy page is all the previous memory markers that we featured for her in the past, as well as some of our Battle Ready Inc. merch. Now, some of those memory markers will be leaving the shop soon, okay? So I'm just going to keep putting that out there and until it does, but here shortly, several of the memory markers, well, not several, sorry, a few of the memory markers are going to be leaving for various reasons. She said they're a bit too complex to have to recreate over and over and over without any practice. So some of the more intricate ones, if you've been on the fence about getting them or not, you might want to go ahead and pick them up because I have a feeling that they're not going to be there much longer. Also, if you guys are a fan of buying cards and singles online like I am, I recommend checking out cardtrader.com. I'll have a link in the description below that you can go and use to sign up. You'll instantly get a free $2 to use on cardtrader.com. It's a great website because if you use their Card Trader Zero program, what they do is they gather all the cards that you're buying at their warehouse and then they ship them to you for a single shipping cost. It sucks when you have to pay more for the shipping than you do the cards themselves. That's when cardtrader.com comes in clutch. So just use my link, go sign up and get yourself free $2 and go start buying some singles. All right, so we're here on digimoncard.dev as always, my favorite site for looking up cards. We've got BT13 pulled up and we're just going to kind of go through this for the most part in order, but I want to knock out the honorable mentions first because I know this is going to be a big one on a lot of people's radar. Is going to be some of these honorable mentions because they're not new decks necessarily, but they're decks that we haven't seen in the meta in a hot minute. So first up is of course going to be Jesmon here in the red. A lot of the Royal Knights decks are getting support, right? But some of them get a full Evo line, like Jesmon here. So that's going to be really powerful for you. But a lot of them are going to see this on play and when digivolving. Just keep in mind the on play is specifically for the Royal Knights version of the deck, whereas the when digivolving is something you're going to choose for the rest of the time. So choose any number of your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 6,000 DP or less, and delete them. For every other Digimon you have in play, add 2,000 to the maximum DP you can choose with this effect. For Jesmon, this is great because, you know, we're spawning out tons and tons of Sistermons. If you do like a Jesmon GX and you slide this guy underneath, you know, by the time you get into a Jesmon GX, you have a pretty decent board. So you could delete something decent size, I would say, with this. You can work this up to 12 or 14 pretty easily, and then all turns, all of your Digimon get plus 1,000 DP for each other Digimon with Sistermon in the name or Royal Knight you have in play. Again, getting a nice DP boost. I don't think this Jesmon necessarily will be overly like the new Jesmon that you're going to play in the Jesmon deck, but we will. It's nice that we've got other things to choose from. We got new saviors here as well. We got your turn effects instead of when digivolving effects, so you can evo this in raising area and still get good use out of it. We got, again, some Bao Huckmons as well. Like the inheritable here, when you play a Digimon Sistermon, its name gain 1 memory. Like, that'll be a great Bao Huckmon to add to our arsenal. So, Jesmon getting new support. So, expect to see Jesmon at your locals again being played. Jesmon Pure. Definitely a big contender there as a comeback deck that we haven't seen in a while. And for these honorable mentions, these are going to be like decks that were heavily meta in the past. Like, we've got some support for older decks, but it's decks that never saw meta spotlight. So next we got Alphamon here as well, making a comeback. Ever since the Doru Gray got hit, the deck has really fallen off. We still see it topping, and congrats to those people that are making it work, even with the hits and stuff. You know, the deck still had Greymon and things like that, but now we're going to get more support. So the new Alphamon here is on play when digivolving by placing one Digimon card of X Antibody or Royal Knight trait from your trash under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card until the end of your opponent's turn. Your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 10 or more can't attack a player. So that's really, really awesome. You use this Alphamon in conjunction with a Congo, and you basically just turn your opponent off. I mean, like, they're like, okay, well, I'm extremely limited on what I can do. I can attack with my Megas, but I can only attack other Digimon, and if there's nothing unsuspended, you know, then they can't attack at all. Very, very powerful card here, this Alphamon. And then all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon would leave the battle area by placing... by effect, by placing one card of X Antibody or Royal Knight trait from this Digimon's Digimon cards at the bottom of your owner's deck, prevent it from leaving play. There it is. The answer to chaos degradation. As a heavily security control player, like, it is nice to see these kind of effects coming into the game. Chaos deg, just being able to dodge so many things, very, very powerful. And it's like, in the way this is worded, when this would leave the battle area by effect, this also, if you're not familiar, this also applies with a Digimon Superior mode, where he goes place it underneath a tamer. This Alphamon effect still applies. You can still prevent that. I know it's weird because it's like, well, it's still in the battle area. It's different. It's when this Digimon, not when this card, because there's this big thread about ace mechanics versus like effects like this, right? So it's when the card leaves the area, not when it's the Digimon leaves the area. When the Digimon leaves the battle area, it's getting turned into a source. You can use this effect to prevent that. This Alphamon is going to be very, very strong. Just there's not really much else to see it, but by an effect. So it still can get deleted by battle. But this, and you combine it with something like a Doru Gray that prevents DP reduction, it's very, very hard to remove an Alphamon off the field. Speaking of Doru Greymon, we finally have one to replace the one we got limited to one. Even if this guy isn't like a soul-crushing, you know, Doru Greymon as good as the last or anything like that, it's the fact that he's Doru Greymon in the name. So we can go back and use our Dex Doru Greymons again. So we can run like 4 of this guy, 1 of the original, and then 3 Dex Doru Greys, and we're going to be in a fantastic position. And this one also has the DP reduction prevention. So both Doru Greys will have that DP reduction protection. So that's really, really huge. Now we're going to get to some gray area here in the middle of our between honorable mentions and new decks. Okay, first up is Ravemon. So Ravemon is still extremely new. For EX4, it's only been out for what, a week and maybe 2, maybe just 1 week. It's brain fart fuzzled. But either way, we get more support. I've been building the Ravemon deck and then kind of messing around with it a little bit. It's missing too much, and this BT13 support is just going to be great. It does a lot of the same stuff that, you know, the regular Ravemon deck already did. It's just we're getting more ways to do it. They changed up enough that it still feels like, oh, these are new cards, but it still fits in the strategy and what we're planning on doing here. By deleting this so end of your turn, instead of end of attack, end of your turn, by deleting this Digimon that has a Digivolution card with Bird or Avian in one of its traits. At the end of the opponent's turn, you may play one Ravemon from your trash without paying the cost. So similar but different. Also, the thing that's been really kicking the deck currently, and why I think it hasn't quite popped off just yet, is that Bird Avian in the traits, in the sources. That's been kind of the thing, because you can build the deck out, but you have to like supplement in all of these cards. It's like, I want all these cool on deletion, gain a memory, but none of those are Bird or Avians, so you have to make sure you have some part of his Evo line in that stack underneath him, which could be a bit of a problem potentially. But it wasn't too bad. But now we're just going to get a whole new Evo line of support here with on deletion, inheritables here, doing a little bit of different stuff. If deleted outside of battle, you may play one level 4 lower purple Digimon card from your trash without paying its cost. So you get to play your sources back to the field, which is pretty cool. I don't mind that so much, especially because like the Pekmon level 4 here is a blocker, so you delete it and you just get your blocker right back to the field. Falcomon, you get your on-play effect. One of your purple Digimon gains a retaliation until the end of your opponent's turn. Yeah, so some nice support for Ravemon here. Hopefully bringing it up into like a meta kind of level spotlight. Let's see, where else? MirageGao was another one that I was really excited about. Like we had its support in BT13, I believe it was, where we got, you know, a lot of the great MirageGao stuff. You know, the one that's like bounces the security to hand of your opponents. You know, things like that, gains a ton of memory. So we're still doing similar things like that. When digivolving, return one of your opponent's tamers to his owner's hands with the new Mirage. All turns once per turn, when in effect adds a card to your opponent's hand, you may play one Thomas from your hand without paying its memory cost. So similar but different. You know, we're still getting tons of value off of things getting returned to hand. We got a Galgamon that all turns once per turn when in effect adds a card to your opponent's hands, unsuspend this Digimon. Like every Galgamon ever, pretty much, I think, is all unsuspend. Like the inheritable lets you unsuspend, which is really fantastic. So it gives you plenty to choose from, which I'm a big fan of. But the big thing is it now has a burst mode to use. For those not familiar with burst mode, they pretty much all the black box text reads the same. So burst digivolve 0 from MirageGao by returning one Thomas in its in play to its owner's hands. At the end of the turn, trash the top card of this Digimon. So you digivolve for 0 on top of your regular Mirage by bouncing your tamer to hand, right? And then you get to, and then at the end of the turn, after you do all your when digivolving, when attacking effects, he essentially, like, you can maybe argue de-digivolve, like that's just a comparison to how it works. You take the top card and, you know, it goes to the trash. It like de-digivolves itself back into its normal mode. So burst mode is very much exactly what it says. It's a burst of energy that goes away very rapidly as soon as you do your thing. So when digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon to its owner's hand. No level restriction on that. Nothing. Then for every 4 cards in your opponent's hands, gain 1 memory. So digivolve for 0. Bounce anything I want on your field to your hand, any one Digimon to your field. I can't bounce the whole field. And then I gain a bunch of memory on my 0 Evo cost Evo. That's pretty awesome. But you'll need to replay that Thomas back out, but still pretty awesome. And it happens after the bounce, which is great. So that for every 4 cards, they could be at 7, and that bounce to hand could put them at the 8 threshold that you need them. That's great. When attacking, if your opponent has 9 or more cards in their hand, by placing cards from your opponent's hand at the bottom of their owner's deck without looking until there is 8 cards left, unsuspend this Digimon. So we get a double attack. That's great. Almost a triple attack, because if you combine it with the Galgamon, which will probably be triggering here, yeah, you swing in with the Mirage, and then you then you can go into like and then you unsuspend, and then you can go into your burst mode here, and you can swing again. Very powerful stuff. Like I said, Mirage has been around, but we haven't really seen it pop off too much. I think now with the amount of support it's going to have, we'll definitely be seeing it in the BT13 meta somewhere. I expect to see it in every single regional that we've got, even Ultimate Cup, because the deck is pretty much pure blue from what I remember. Yeah, so definitely a good Ultimate Cup deck, as well as a good regional deck. All right, and then the last one, I do want to touch on Shine. So Shine is expected to be one of the best decks in BT13. Is it new? Not necessarily. This is the 3rd set in a row of support for ShineGreymon. We just had Ruin Mode release, along with some new Evos for it, which it desperately needed. It's now at a playable state with EX4, but the top end is just kind of so-so. Ruin mode is nice and solid and very impacting, but the deck is still kind of slow a little bit, and this new support is just going to bring it all together and make it an absolute menace. So you got the new ShineGreymon here, which is okay. I think the other one that we had in BT12 was still better, but Digivolve for 3 on top of your RiseGreymon. Name contains RiseGreymon, so you can go on top of RiseGreymon X, and it's still reduced Evo cost here. Start of, or alternate, it's not a reduced, it's an alternate Evo cost. Start of your main phase, when Digivolving, one of your Marcus is also treated as a 3000 DP Digimon that can't Digivolve, and it gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. All turns once per turn, when your red or yellow tamer becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6000 DP for the turn. What's nice about this, though, is this effect right here. Is you can take one of your Marcuses that doesn't like just turn into a Digimon for himself, or the fact that the one we have, right, it costs 1 memory to basically come into the battle area as a Digimon. Like effects like this basically just supersede it, and you can just do it for free, which is where the juicy part comes in, and we're getting a lot of that here in all this. One of it's like even the Agumon here does that, so it turns it into a Digimon for you. But that's gonna be great for multiple, like your other Marcuses that normally can't. But really, the juicy part of all the new ShineGreymon support is the burst mode. This is the thing that breaks this deck, unbelievably so. There's not really much else to say. This card is going to be an absolute freaking menace on the metagame. It is. I don't know if you don't think this card is going to be an absolute problem. You're very, very optimistic. All right. So 15,000 DP here. Digiburst Digivolve. Okay, so seeing the Digiburst or the Burst Digivolve again, 0 Evo on top of your Shine by returning 1 Marcus in play to its owner's hands at the end of the turn. Trash top card of this Digimon. So 0 Evo cost, Burst mode. When Digivolving, you may play 1 Marcus from your hand without paying its memory cost. So the Marcus that you just bounced to hand to Evo for free, you now get to play right back out for free. Cool. The tamer played by this effect is also treated as a 12,000 DP Digimon that can't Digivolve and gains Rush. Cool. Awesome. Your turn, once per turn, when one of your tamers becomes suspended, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. What? So that I bounce a Marcus to hand, I play the Marcus right back out, now he's bigger and has Rush, and when he attacks, I trash the security, and then the attack goes through and hits you again. What? How is that fair? So think of it like this. You can start of your main phase, you turn that Marcus into a Digimon, right? He attacks. He's now suspended. You bounce him to hand, go into burst mode, play him right back out, attack again, right? Crazy. And with the old Shine giving security attack +1, that's 4 security checks off of a single Marcus. Oh my god. This is going to be a nightmare of a deck to deal with. And remember, every time Marcus suspends himself, you can Digivolve for free. So you can Digivolve that, your RiseGreymon into a ShineGreymon, the old one. They give security attack +1 for free. You can do all these things for basically no memory. God. I'm looking forward to playing it. Don't get me wrong. I am very excited to play this. I've been building up the deck and been playing it in EX4. I even played it a bit before that in BT12. BT13, though, going to be an absolute menace. Oh my god, people are not ready for this. All right, and that's going to do it for the existing decks getting support, bring other decks into meta relevance. Now let's get on to the actual new decks. We'll just go swinging right out the gate. We're going to talk about the Royal Knights deck. This is going to be one of probably the most expensive deck we've ever seen in this game. If you're planning on playing this and you're not prepared for it, keep in mind that the whole deck basically is super rares. Just about almost every card in your deck is a super rare. And just think about ShineGreymon. If you watched our cards to get before BT13, we looked at regular super rare ShineGreymon was sitting at $14. That wasn't even the alt art at 50. Regular SRs, probably for this deck, because everyone's going to need them. Everyone's going to need them in 4-ofs. Okay, if every deck in the format needs 4 of a super rare, and they need 10, well, there's 13, right? So, and then Yggdrasil, that's 14 super rares. I don't know if all of them are super rares or not, but like, you get my point though. Like, that adds up, and this is going to be crazy expensive. And if you're planning on getting all the alt arts at 4-ofs, this deck is going to be like touching the thousands on the most expensive deck ever run in Digimon competitively. I'll say that. You could build a crazy expensive deck that makes no sense, but an actual competitive viable deck, this will be beyond expensive. Just keep that in mind, people. So Yggdrasil, breeding, your turn. Your Digimon can't Digivolve. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Your turn. Your Digimon can't Digivolve. Stop teching in level 7s like Omnimons and things like that Digivolve on top of level 6s. You can't Digivolve. Okay, they just get played. Okay, so you got, I can play this and I can play that. You can't Digivolve. Can't Digivolve at all. You can't DNA. You can't Digivolve. Okay. Breeding, your turn, once per turn. When you would play a Digimon card with Royal Knight's traits, you may reduce its play cost by 4. For each of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, reduce the play cost by an additional 1. Yes, we have breeding effects. Digimon in the breeding area that can affect the battlefield. I know Digimon's already rewriting their own rules, but it is what it is. Breeding, start of your main phase, reveal the top card of your Digi-Egg deck. Place that card and all of your Digimon Royal Knight's traits from under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards. So basically, you just keep hatching eggs, and they keep going to the source. Very similar to Mother D Reaper style, but it stays in the breeding area, and you keep sliding in all of its Yggdrasil 76s underneath it. And then breeding inheritable. I know, crazy. We're still doing the breeding thing. Your turn, once per turn. When you place an option card with Royal Knight's traits in your battle area, gain 1 memory. So place an option card with Royal Knights in its traits. And it says place, not play. Is place specifically. Gain a memory. So this can be very, very powerful in the right situations. So yeah, it's very similar to Mother D Reaper. We get to reduce the play costs of our stuff. We're just playing like pretty much all megas, and you're just hard playing these megas to do things. You get all these on play. We already talked about a couple of them that had the on play effects as well as the Wind Digivolving effects. So you get to play out your megas just straight to the battlefield. Now you're gonna run things, like draw power, like your sister mons that also benefit from Royal Knights being on the field, things like that, and then all of your Digimon with Royal Knights, go underneath this Digimon. So start of your main phase. So once you play it out, it's good for a turn, and then it goes away. So if you don't have Rush or something like that, it could be a bit of a problem. But the idea is to keep playing these out over and over and over. And you got a whole, they're in every single color in here. You got Royal Knights all over the place. But the big ones here is here at the end. This is your finisher. Your Omnimon here on play when Digivolving. You may delete one of your opponent's Digimon or play one of each Digimon card with a different name and with the Royal Knight trait from the Digivolution cards under the Digimon in your breeding area without paying the cost. If you played a Digimon by this effect, trash one Digimon in your breeding area and all of your Digimon gain Rush for the turn. All right, let me break that down because that was a lot, right? So you hard play the Omnimon. You reduce its play cost because of your Yggdrasil effect. And then you play out all the Royal Knights because remember, at the start of your turn, they get sucked underneath Yggdrasil. And then you play the Omnimon, all those ones that are underneath the Yggdrasil all flood to the field. You've got, 13 different Royal Knights potentially that you can come out to the field, and then you trash the Yggdrasil. It goes away. You no longer have any more eggs because every turn you hatch one. By your turn 4, you have no more eggs. They're all underneath your Yggdrasil. Omnimon's going to trash that Yggdrasil, but you have a field full of megas that all have Rush. So you basically have to win right then and there. So it's a big build up to get in to make Omnimon playable and to attack in that same turn with all your Rush. And that's basically the win con of the deck. You have all these megas, and it's hard to remove several megas. You can have some pretty big board wipe cards that exist in this game, but they can be a bit limited. You got Schwartz, which deletes all level 5 and lower, or not all, but for every tamer or hybrid you have, you can delete a level 5. But again, megas can't touch the megas. You can play Crimson Blaze, but you have to have a lot of those effects like the Gallantmon inheritables that increase the threshold of Crimson Blaze. Also, Crimson Blaze itself preventing cards being played by effect. If you know an Omnimon's coming down, Crimson Blaze, even if you're not going to kill anything on your opponent's field, play a Crimson Blaze to prevent them from playing that Omnimon and slow them down a bit. This deck is going to be extremely good. But it's going to be extremely expensive. And this was the option card it was referring to. It's an option card with Royal Knights here. It has a delay effect, so you get to place it in the battle area, so you would gain that memory off of it. Draw one. You may place one Digimon card from your hand under your Yggdrasil in your breeding area. It says then place this card in your battle area. So the 6 is basically a 5 play cost with your Yggdrasil. A weird way that they went about it, but I guess to keep you from like teching this in randomly or something like that. We got another 5 play cost tamer here in the form of Marcus. He is a memory fixer, as well as on play, suspend this tamer all turns. When this tamer becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Then if you have a Digimon card of Agumon or Greymon in its name in play, gain 1. The deck plays Marcuses for free. Like when you Digivolve into all of your level 5s, they all can play Marcus for free. So 5 play cost doesn't mean a whole lot for this deck. Not a big deal. And then you can turn him into a Digimon that can attack and apply his effects that way as well. So just for that, the kick back to that Marcus there. So yeah, that's Yggdrasil. That is your Royal Knights deck. Very scary. It's got tons of megas here that you're getting to play out. I believe I can fly. Magnamon here. This is going to be like your starter here. So 7 play cost. It's a level 4. It's going to be your cheapest one that you can play. It's got blocker. So you reduce it by 4, and then you can play this by play it for 3 on turn 1. Not too bad. All turns when this Digimon would leave play, draw 1. Then you may play 1 Vmon from your hand, or this Digimon Digivolution cards without paying the cost. You might not probably get that Vmon effect there, but when it leaves the play, you can draw a card, because remember, it gets stuck underneath Yggdrasil. That's going to be your starter. It's going to be a blocker. It's going to be the thing that kind of protects you the most in the beginning. All right, so that is it for the big new deck out of this set. Coming down here, though, I know we still have more decks. This is the most like decks just entering the meta at full force that we've probably ever seen in a single set, because it's bringing old decks that were no longer viable. It's bringing those in, as well as it's dumping in new decks. Now this next one isn't like super amazing here. We've got the new Chessmon deck, which is just, it's okay. It's support for what we already have, though. But it's not like overly amazing. Basically, you just get to keep playing out the Chessmon pieces over and over. Like here's pawn on deletion. If it is your turn, you may play 1 level 3 or lower Digimon card with Chessmon in its name from your hand without paying its cost. If you have 8 or more cards with Chessmon in their names in your trash, add 2 to the maximum level. You can play this Digimon. So it's like even if they get deleted, they bring out another piece. Knight Chessmon is level 4 or lower on deletion. Bishop here is level 5 or lower on deletion. So even if it gets removed, it just another one comes right back out, which you can continue evoing up and up and up into your boss monsters, right? So King Chessmon here on player when digivolving by deleting one of your other Digimon. You may play 1 Digimon with Chessmon in its name other than King Chessmon from your hand without paying its cost. Helps you bring out like your Queen Chessmon, things like that. It's like it's not quite flooding the field. It's just, even on when your stuff gets deleted, it just replaces itself, and you just keep working your way up into your megas. And even when your megas die, you keep bringing stuff back. It's okay. It's not like overly competitive. Green, though, Green's got some cool stuff going on. We have a Ravemon deck. Probably the first time Ravemon has been truly, and I mean truly, competitive. Like, we're talking A tier competitive here. Most of this stuff is going to get used in the Bloomlord deck, Bloomlord, Quartzmon, all that fun greatness. But yeah, so we've got a Lalamon here as an on play. It's a searcher for your vegetation plant fairy, similar to Palmon, but this one adds Yoshino to hand instead. Inheritable though, your turn once per turn when this Digimon would Digivolve. If you have a green tamer in play, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. Sunflowermon, same effect, same inheritable here. Also, main by suspending this Digimon, you may Digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon with Fairy in one of its traits from your hand by playing its Digivolution cost. When you would reduce the Digivolution by 2, so you suspend it, and then you can and Evo herself up into Lilamon here. When Digivolving, you may play one Yoshino from your hand without paying its cost. So this is going to get you the tamer on field that you needed. To trigger all your inheritables. So now you have a suspended Lilamon that you evoed for 1 cost. And if you had the Sunflowermon, maybe you're at 0 memory at this point. Inheritable, while your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So that's pretty nice. But then you go into the Rosemon. When Digivolving by suspending one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, unsuspend this Digimon. So now this Digimon is becoming unsuspended. You're essentially evoing into this for 1 as well, because you've got the tamer in play, and now you're going to evo with the reduced cost into the Rosemon here. All turns once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon or tamer becomes suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or tamers. So it's like a double suspend here. And so now you're unsuspended. Now we have burst mode. So again, we play the tamer out for free with level 5. We're in our Rosemon. We can now burst mode up into Rosemon here. Same burst effect as the others. You're bouncing the Yoshino to hand. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon and one of their tamers. All of your opponent's Digimon and tamers don't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So it's a great lockdown effect there. It's like a mini Quartzmon. And it's burst mode, right? So you can keep going into Rosemon every single turn on top of your Rosemon. So you're gonna go away, and then you can come right back to the field again on the following turn with a second Rosemon burst mode, third, fourth. When attacking, for every 2 suspended Digimon and or tamers your opponent has in play, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Yes, that's where the meat and potatoes is right there. Is that you go all this work to get up into this very efficiently. It's green, right? Very memory efficient. You can get all the way up into this burst mode, and then just attack, trash a bunch of your opponents for every 2. I mean, golly, we played plenty of decks, and we've seen all these like effects here, suspending stuff the whole way up. You know, the Rosemons, the burst mode, like they're suspending stuff, keeping their opponent's stuff suspended, and if they play anything new during their turn, when you go into your second burst mode, they're going to get suspended again. And they're going to keep locking it down, and then you keep attacking and just trashing security. So similar to like a Beelzemon X, we're just getting to trash our opponent's security, and if they've got nothing left, then you just get a swing for game. Very, very strong card. Big fan of burst mode there for the Rosemon deck. Really, really excited for to see what's to come for that. Moving down here into black, we already went over Alphamon, but we also have there is the Queen Chessmon as well. So we got yellow black and black yellow. So we got a full deck's worth, which is nice because we're really going to need it because a lot of the the on deletion effects and things like that. So that'll be nice that they're like right out the gate. They're like, here's a whole bunch of the stuff. So it's not, you don't have to wait till the next set, like the Ravemon, like, it's like, I really needed more than just this. They're like, no, we got you. We got 2 sets worth basically crammed into one, because of the duo color part of it. But besides that, we got new Sukamon support here. So when attacking, you may play one level 4 lower Digimon card with Sukamon in its name from your hand without paying its cost. Help us get our Sukamon. More Sukamons in play, and then all turns when this Digimon would be deleted by deleting one other Digimon with Sukamon in its name, prevent that deletion. So we're deleting the other Sukamons, are typically the ones on our opponent's side of the field. We got a Platinum here, which is on deletion, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Yep, okay, that's it. All turns when this Digimon would be deleted by deleting one other Digimon with Sukamon in its name, prevent that deletion, so we're getting more of that inheritable as well. We got a new Chumon here that's got the inheritable here on deletion. If this one has Sukamon or Edamon in its name, you may play one Chumon suspended from your trash without paying the cost. That's great. It's just like the other Chumon. We just keep recycling Chumons over and over, so even if we lose our stuff on field, like the opponent still has to deal with a Chumon in play, which is extremely, extremely strong. And then King Edamon as like our new mega for the deck, I guess is the best way to look at it. All turns once per turn, when another Digimon with Edamon or Sukamon its name is deleted, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP and security attack -1 for the until the end of their turn, which is great. So if you do somehow you get like 2 Sukamons on your opponent's side of the field, you can delete one and then DP minus the other and kill that one as well. That's really good. Opponent's turn, all of your Digimon with Edamon or Sukamon and their names gain blocker. It cannot be returned to hands or decks. So really cool new meta or mega to tech into Sukamon here. Really expecting Sukamon to take off this time around. It's finally at a point where it's going to have enough support to actually, you know, be competitive. I would say it's got enough pieces that it can work with now. Really looking forward to seeing the Sukamon deck in action, turning everything to poop. All right, and I believe that is it for all the new stuff. I know I skipped over a lot of cards here. I can't review everything, like the Yoshino here, which is really great. When you Digivolve into a vegetation, plant, or fairy, you can suspend this tamer to gain 1, which, you know, you play for free off the level 5, and then you evo basically for 0 into your Ravemon Mega. You get the 2 inheritables that reduce, and then the Yoshino finishes it off and gains 1 memory back for you, making her a 0 evo cost, basically. Just tons of great stuff. We got great tamers for a lot of decks here. New Thomas. We've got a Ravemon burst mode as well for the Ravemon deck. Because, you know, there was so much argument about what mega to run. Now you don't even need to argue about what mega to run. You can just run the Ravemon burst mode. Yeah, there's just so much. I literally have lost count of the number of decks that are jumping up into, like, competitive viability in this set, but it's probably one of the best. It's going to also be one of the most chaotic because we're going to have 2 extremely strong decks. The Royal Knights as well as ShineGreymon burst mode are going to be very difficult decks to deal with. I hope you guys are ready for that because I'm not. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult actually to deal with those decks. If you're not playing those decks, that's the struggle. It's either you play them or you lose. And hopefully we can figure out some techs to work around these decks and you know, figure out how to deal with them. But it's not looking too great so far. Stopping a tamer from attacking isn't too bad. You can put up some decent blockers, things like that. But how do you stop a field full of megas, all with rush, all attacking you? Yeah, I don't know how to handle that one. So we'll just have to wait and find out what are the techs to deal with the new top tier decks.